So I'm glad that my talk is the first one, because I will be talking about how to break down the monolith. And maybe Standa is going to tell you that it's not such a good idea, so I'm glad I'm the first one. So first is a survey for you. And I would like to know in which out of these 4 categories you belong. So who is in situation A? It means that you are doing greenfield development. Everything is super nice. You are working on a new product. Congratulations. Who is in the situation which is quite the opposite, which is maintaining the spaghetti code in a legacy project. Everything is terrible. I've been there. Yeah. Situation C, you have a project which has some quite long history, but you are managing to improve it. Yeah, it's quite typical. Yeah. And is there someone who has decided to rewrite a project from scratch and hoping that it will be fine in 1 year, maybe 1.5 years? Okay. I believe that having technical debt is quite normal, because what happens to successful companies is that you find your customers, solve their problems, then maybe you add more features because customers want it, which means that your code gets more complex, then you expand your customer base, then maybe your app is less stable now. Maybe you think it's a good idea to repurpose your database tables for something else because migrating data is difficult, right? And then you wait a couple of years and you have a problem. You need to invest in your product now. You need to do some technical investments. And that's what I'm talking about. And we in Mews have a monolith, and we are doing some efforts to break it down. So how to break down the monolith? Breaking down the monolith is like eating an elephant. Do you know how to eat an elephant? No? There is only one way. You need to take 1 bite at a time. And this means that you need to focus on one problem at a time, and eventually it will be fine in the long run. Okay, why am I standing here? And why am? My name is Marek, and I was leading a project in Mews Guest Experience tribe, and we did rewrite a product which is called GuestPortal. Mews is a company that creates software for hotels and hotel chains, and GuestPortal is our product for online check-in, check-out, and more. Okay, when you start a project like this, maybe we are developers, so we think that everything is in code, right? But it's not always the case. Sometimes you have more depth than just the code. You have product depth, which means that you are missing some features. You can remove some features which are not used. Some features are so-so. Maybe your UI is not up to date. Maybe you realize it's year 2024 and it's time to do a mobile-friendly design. And in our case, these were our problems. So we were having a slow pace of development, which was caused by our monolithic backend, which was difficult to update or make changes, Our backend APIs were not super friendly for the frontend. Our frontend was using Redux, which is no longer recommended for React applications. And we were concerned about future stability, scalability of the product. When you add twice many customers, will it still hold up? And you can see that the user interface is quite desktop-oriented, and it's not good enough anymore. Last but not least, we wanted to innovate, which means that we wanted to do some innovative solutions in the team, and of course, we want the product to evolve. So last year, the new GuestPortal project came, and it was something that was like from our leadership, and we had more goals, and some of them were, we had quite tight deadline. We had 6 months to do everything, basically, because we wanted to present a new, fresh, redesigned product at Unfold conference, which is hosted by our company and for hotels and people from hospitality. And because we are not the only team in Mews, we were also collaborating with other teams on the GuestPortal mission, and we were collaborating with Atlas, with platform team using their Atlas platform, and we were collaborating with Mews design system to create something which is great for the guests. And so we wanted to seamlessly integrate the product with another product, the digital key, which was Mews, for Mews. Okay, when you start, you need to decide which way you go. So you can either improve your current code base because you are quite happy with the code base and you think that it still can hold up and support your growth. Or you do a greenfield rewrite, and again, hoping that in half a year, in our case, everything will be done. Or you can rewrite the app piece by piece, which means that you are much safer and you can continuously integrate. So which way you think we took? With 4.1? It's 4.2? 3? Okay, we did. We basically did version 2. And I'll tell you how it went. Now I will tell you what we did. We did some changes to the backend architecture. So the situation before the rewrite was we had a monolithic backend with GuestPortal API, which was the frontend connecting to, and most of the business logic was on frontend actually. So we were the GuestPortal API was providing raw data, and everything was computed on frontend. The change which happened after was that we created a new service using the internal developer platform, which is called Atlas, and we moved the business logic to that service, and frontend was connected to the GraphQL API on the new service, and the new service was communicating with the old monolith using the internal API. And Atlas is developed by our platform team, and it's, how can I describe it? I can describe it as like necessary infrastructure and a template for a backend C# service. We decided to introduce GraphQL because we had some problems with the old API. It was not supporting the frontend well because the computed data and the business logic was not there, and the structure was not ideal, so we were having some issues with overfetching or underfetching the data, which means that either we are calling too many requests or the requests are loading too much data, which is not effective. And we chose the GraphQL because we wanted to create a new API anyway, and with it we were able to expose the right data in the API, and it has much better developer experience. There's code generation, and it's easy to explore the GraphQL, and I enjoyed working with GraphQL. The front-end architecture also changed. Previously, it was heavily using Redux. which means that there is one piece of global state and any component can access it and any component can change, which gets quite messy. And another big issue with the old code was that it was sharing state between the screens, which, I don't know, at any time where there is state involved, there is more bugs, there's more options, what can happen. So if you can remove it, because it's not necessary, then it's good because everything is easier. And it was highly complex, yeah. So what we did is that we moved the business logic, we moved it to backend, which was very important. And we were using the concept of smart components and view components, which means that for homepage, which is drawn here, you have a smart component which calls the API, and everything else is just dummy components which just renders the data and nothing else. And we were using the code generation, so we were using the types generated by the GraphQL directly in the components, which was also quite useful. This architecture enabled us to use Storybook quite well. So we were able to render all our pages, just the view, in Storybook, so we could have all the states documented, and suddenly some problems we had before were no longer problems, because you can create the front-end parts, the components, without the backend running. You can easily produce different states of the components, and you can give it to your designer early for feedback. This is something that was not planned, but it happened. Large projects like this can spark innovation. And our QA guy created this tool which is called mini.Mews, which was for rapid test reservation creation. And it helped us so much. The development was easier, and it enabled testing by PMs, designers, everyone in the company, and it's great for demos. So you may think, what was the end result? So we kind of failed, unfortunately. We had to compromise on many areas. We failed on the deadline, because at the end, at the conference, we were able to pull out just a development announcement instead of general availability. We stripped the scope. We were instead of feature parity, we were aiming for 90% of our customers. We were not using the full potential of the microservice architecture, so we were just having one new microservice instead of more. And all the data is still owned by monolith, so we don't have any databases which are used by the microservice directly. And of course, with this kind of development, there's a problem with long feedback loop, that you know how many bugs you have only after you deploy it, which happened after half a year of development, which is quite unfortunate. But we also have some successes. We put Atlas platform on production on very important product. We had GraphQL on production for the first time in Mews. We got rid of Redux on Frontend, which was also great. Maybe the most important was the move of the business logic to backend, where it belongs. We had great UI, which was optimized for mobile, and in collaboration with the design system team, we had new, fresh design. And you can try it on your own. So if you follow this link, you can, there's a table where you can select a random link and try it, and you will get a reservation which was created by the mini.Mews tool, and you can go through the online check-in. Maybe someone has a question?
There's some Google Sheet on the...
Yes. You need to open the Google Sheet and then pick a random link. And if you want your link to be taken, you need to put your name next to the link, so everyone else knows that that's your link.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you approach the order confirmation? Like, does it come to your email, or does Citrus specifically work on make a reservation that?
I'm not sure I follow.
So I make a reservation, right, for the application. And
You don't make a reservation. This is when you already have the reservation, and we send you a link to do something that's called online check-in, which is like fill in your data, so the hotel knows more about you, or the necessary data which is legally required.
so,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you think you could use the microservice architecture, so like the pop-up.
Yes.
Use more microservices. What help is
Well, if you're creating just one microservice, what can happen is that you are just creating a new monolith, which is just smaller. Ideally, I believe you should create a microservice per domain, which means that all the services on backend are quite small and really well maintainable. And if the service goes wrong, then you can just remove it and rewrite. And we didn't do that. We did quite a large service for the product. And obviously, there's more domains. There's the check-in, right? There's I don't know, upsell. There's more.
Yeah, so a little bit about like you basically like build, let's say, monolith, but the domain itself. Like, so you build like a facade over monolith, but the domain remaining within the monolith. That's the
kind of. You are right. The data is still owned by the monolith, but there was quite a lot of business logic which we coded into the new microservice or medium-sized service. Yeah?
Yeah.
There's Mike over there.
You kind of talked about, or you kind of said that eventually you guys failed at delivering the project, even though you also mentioned some wins, some small wins. And you also talked about, like, you mentioned some of the, let's say, criterias or outcomes basically of this failure. But what were actually the reasons? If it was like time, capacity, complexity of the task, what were the reasons that you actually didn't make succeed, let's say? Thank you.
My personal opinion is that we should have taken the safer path and create small chunks of work and seamlessly integrate it with the old product, which would, there is no failure because you are always improving the old product, which is always a win, which means that you cannot fail. You can just like not deliver everything, but you can't fail because you always have the safety net of the old product, and you can always like resort to that.
I like your design. Which UI library did you use?
This is a template for PowerPoint from our company and some custom work.
I mean, about the app.
About the app. Oh, yeah. It was we have internal Mews design system, and that's the library.
But really good job, guys. Really impressive.
Thank you.
Can we somehow skip the credit card verification?
You are at that step, right? So it's accepting testing cards. So you can go with 4 and all once.
What is your backend stack?
C#.
I kind of get the feeling that your whole journey into like getting rid of the monolith is a driven by developer experience, not the user experience. You haven't talked about what, as a user using your app, what are the gains I'm getting from your investment into this 6 months journey.
Yeah, maybe I should have sent you some links for the old version. Maybe you will be able to compare.